Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Neha and today we are going to discuss green chemistry principle number 10, which is design for degradation. Up till now we have covered 9 principles and in total we are to cover 12 principles of green chemistry. So let us quickly go ahead with 10th number. What does that principle say? Design for degradation says that your chemical product should be designed so that at the end of their function they break down into innocuous degradation products and they do not persist in the environment. Quite simple, they say that when you design any product, when you're using reactant, you're making it into a product, then your product should be designed such that at the end of their function, means you use the particular product, now how are you going to dispose it of? Is it going to persist in the environment? Is it going to remain forever? Or you're able to degrade it? That is the most important part. So at the end of their function, they break down into innocuous degradation product. Is it again degrading into CO2 or H2 or something and going back, or is it staying there? Let's me give you examples of e-waste, right? We could not think like making mobiles and making electronics will result in one day, which is called e-waste, because we have not followed the principle number 10. We could not thought of what we will do once the product is of no use. Now once the mobile is of no use, it is going to remain there, and then you have to take extra effort to degrade it. Why? Because once we were designing it, we could not thought of making it the design that could be degraded. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say if you have your mobile, but then can you make this back portion of your mobile degradable? Can you make the back portion with some kind of material which will be degraded and it will not persist in the environment, so that at least your overall product is partial degradable? Right, I'm not talking about 100% degradable, because that if you follow principle number 7, which is use of renewable feedstock, then your product would be 100% degradable. Right, your feedstock is renewable, the product is degradable, that's okay. But in some kind of products, seventh principle you cannot follow. Right, you cannot make mobile out of renewable products, you cannot make it out of crops or oils or something like this. Fine, that's okay. But then can you decide that some of the portion of the electronic is made up of that biomaterial which can be degraded after use? That's one thought, that's my example. Let us go ahead with what we are going to do in this principle is just design the product keeping in mind that it does not persist in the environment. I hope you remember CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. They are a problem because they do persist in the environment. Similarly, DDT, if you remember, was one pesticide which remained in the environment, and it was let us discuss these examples. So when designing those products, we could not think about. Now nowadays we have to think. Let's say very in 1950s and 60s, it was a problem that we could locate foam in the sewage plant, rivers and stream, and it was persistent. Why? Because the long alkyl chain, this was the like structure of particular alkyl product, alkyl benzene sulfonate, which used, that was non-degradable. Later on, it was found that now you can make the degradable soap and reagents by changing their chain. So what nowadays we do, we have linear alkyl benzene sulfonate. The chain has become linear and now it's biodegradable. It degrades quickly in the environment in the aerobic conditions. So when the oxygen is present, the microbes are able to break down this linear alkyl chain, and that is how the carbon chain is degraded and the entire molecule can be degraded as well. Coming to the second example, as I said, dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethene. Once it was made in 1940s, the properties were excellent, and in fact we thought we have got a wonder chemical, and due to which the inventors were awarded Nobel Prize too. But after certain time in 1960s, it was recognized that DDT is actually accumulating in the environment, it is not degrading, and that is why the animals, the birds are facing some problems, and so do us. Right, so later on new technologies were developed the overall production system changed by 1970s, and now there are certain insecticides which don't have this harmful material. They go for organophosphates, etc., etc. So this is one more example. Coming to polymers and plastic industry, we all know that plastic is that problem which is still persistent. It remains in the environment for hundred of years. So we have to think on following this principle and try to design the plastic for degradation. Not fully, then at least partially. Maybe if 10%, 20% it is degradable, that will save us a lot. So people are making attempts, and what are they doing? They are trying to manufacture plastic from renewable resources, first of all, so that your plastic is 100% degradable. In fact, I also have made bioplastics using wheat gluten. The portion of wheat which is protein portion gluten, I made the plastic using wheat gluten, using the plasticizers, and it was 100% degradable. So that's one of the solution. Second is incorporation of biodegradable segments in the polymer backbone, so that will make it partial degradable. Then manufacture of degradable polymers from petrochemical sources. I have written one chapter from plastic to fuel in one of the book. You may see in the description, or you may ask me in the comment. I'll give you the link of the book. Then incorporation of other chemicals to enhance the rate of photo or chemical degradation. So either you increase the degradation rate or you change the entire setup. Let's say one example in this is compostable utensils. Nowadays compostable cutleries are there in the market, which is made up of polylactic acid that is derived from biomolecule lactic acid, and that is how the polymer degrades and no toxic product is formed. So that is one of the. So coming to the last slide for this is what are the rules for degradation. There are some rules which you can consider when you design a new product. The first one is natural products are all biodegradable. So if you at all possible, try to use natural products. Second, aliphatic ether containing molecule degrades slowly. ROR, right? Ether containing molecule degrades slowly if it is aliphatic. So don't try to use those compounds. Third, highly electronegative groups such as nitro decrease the rate of degradation. So go for an electropositive group. Many heterocyclic species are slow to biodegrade. So check on which species you can use. Highly branched aliphatic chain degrade more slowly. And that is why I hope you remember in soaps we made the chain to linear one. Fine. So try to make a linear chain. Catechol is an intermediate in the degradation of aromatics. Therefore, aromatic products that do not contain two adjacent unsubstituted carbon will degrade more slowly. So try to have a substitution on two adjacent points of aromatic compounds. Then materials containing strong C, Cl, CF generally do not undergo rapid degradation. I hope you remember CFCs. The problem with CFC is this only, that the bond was of this. So try to avoid this bond. Then materials which are very water insoluble are unlikely to be readily biodegradable. So that also you have to take care. And the last one says that the biodegradation rates normally decrease with increasing molecular weight. So I think with these rules you are able to jot down what you have to consider in this principle. This principle says that you at least try to design the product to become degradable. If not fully, try to make it partially degradable so that it does not persist in the environment and help us saves our life. So I think with that you are able to understand this principle. If you have liked the content, please on like, that will give me motivation. And if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe. Thank you so much.